This is the I Can Do It Hour with your host, Diane Ray.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me for today's show. The topic today is really fascinating and one that I'm anxious to kind of dive into. Past life regression is a technique that uses hypnosis to recover what practitioners believe are memories of past lives or incarnations. And a lot of people believe that you can really heal through accessing past lives. Other people say that they're just fantasies or delusions. And my guest today, we're going to talk about this and also her experience conducting past life regressions. Mira Kelley grew up in Bulgaria, where at the age of 13, she had a powerful regression experience. And with great courage in her heart, Mira followed her intuition and came to the U.S. to study. She's performed past life regressions on many people, including Dr. Wayne Dyer, which he wrote about in his book, Wishes Fulfilled. And Mira is going to talk to us today about healing through past life regression and also about her new CD, which is just released through Hay House, Healing Through Past Life Regression and Beyond. And Mira, thanks for joining me today.
It's really wonderful to be speaking with you.
It's great to talk about this because I'm really fascinated about this subject, healing through past life regression and also past lives in general. So I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your background and how long you've been doing past life regressions on people.
Past life regressions have been really part of my life, pretty much most of my life. And I have been really very blessed to be able to do this and share this with people in personal sessions and now through the CD. It's really an incredible experience. It's really a wonderful thing. And I wasn't always a past life regressionist. I used to work before that as a corporate lawyer. And another experience, another regression experience in which I actually had, I was actually able to heal a physical condition, a TMJ, that I was told that I either need to learn to live with or to have an operation for. And I was able to heal that through having an experience. So following that experience, I was convinced that this is the way to go and this is really a way for people to heal and transform. So, step by step, I moved away from being a lawyer and doing what I do now.
So you do this full time where you work with people to access their past lives for healing. I never know how to say that. Is it past lives? Past lives. So you do this now for a living in New York, is that right?
I'm currently in New York, yes. I'm seeing clients right now here in New York. And I also travel very often, and I see people when I travel. So, and of course, now with the CD, I'll be able to reach people in their homes if they're not able to come and see me in person.
Right. So you also will be speaking in New York. You mentioned you're traveling. You'll be at the I Can Do It Ignite in New York in November, on November 3rd. So that's pretty exciting.
That is very exciting. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to it.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about your experience. So you said that you had a powerful regression experience at a very young age. And can you describe that for us?
Absolutely. If I were to tell you the story in all details, I think it would take more than just 1 hour. But the basis of it was that I actually... You see, I grew up in a communist country, so religion was never really part of my upbringing. There were no angels, there was no talk of reincarnation or anything like that. And then after the fall of communism, there was such an influx of spiritual literature because, people were really hungry for this kind of information. So there was no distinction, for people between going to a Sunday service in the church and talking about UFOs and past lives and reincarnation. So there was really no prejudice and no feelings of this could not be true when I actually came across a book on reincarnation. And the book was Brian Weiss's book, Through Time into Healing. And in the book, he shared all these stories of how people have actually had incredible experiences and how these experiences have impacted them and how they have been able to transform their lives. And I was really intrigued, I have to tell you. So what I did is I actually created a recording for myself, and I played it back, and I had an experience where I saw myself as a Soviet spy who actually who actually was captured by the Nazis because I have actually received orders to as that Soviet spy to actually terminate someone I was working with. I was my cover was a doctor, and as a doctor, I was one of my patients was this very important Nazi general, and I received orders, from the people I was working with to actually terminate this person. And this is really the during the time of World War II. So this was actually important, for in terms of the big game of winning and losing the war. So I was very reluctant to do it, and yet I felt cornered, and I felt that I couldn't do anything. So I actually poured poison into, the man's glass of water rather than giving him a medicine, and he, of course, died, and I was captured, and I was put on an electric chair, and I died by, that's how I was executed. And all this, was observed with such vivid feelings and such vivid details and such vivid emotions that from the moment of, my very first experience, there's never been a doubt in my mind that this is really actually working, that this is real, that this is something that you're able to connect with. And this experience had a profound, tremendous impact on me, especially at the age I was at, but really for anybody at any age. And it really impacted how my life developed and how my life progressed and the choices I made in pretty much everyday life. And that's really how it all started for me.
Wow. So you really were able to access a lot of detail and things that you could not have possibly known.
Oh, gosh.
As a memory. It couldn't have been a memory of someone telling you something.
Right, not at all, because I actually even remember when my mom came home that night, I said to her what I have done, and I asked her, Mom, did electric chairs even exist at the time of World War II? Because honestly, to me as a 13-year-old, the 1940s seemed like a time of antiquity, and if you were to have somebody killed, why would you pick an electric chair, right? It's just even the level of details, and that's what happens to people. I guide them into a place where once they close their eyes and I help them relax their body, they're able to really just access these images because we're always connected, we are always guided. It's just a matter of shutting down or at least minimizing the level of the external input from our senses and just allowing for the images and for the feelings to come up. And the process itself is very gentle, very beautiful, and very simple.
And what did you learn? Like, what were you able to heal after accessing that life and that traumatic ending of that life in the electric chair and everything?
I have to tell you, I up to that moment, I never even realized it, but I had a tremendous phobia of everything German. It's really a silly thing to even, say, but I had a fear of seeing people with guns. I had a fear of seeing soldiers. I had this aversion of even listening to the German language. I cannot even explain what a feeling of gagging and just fear it would bring up in me. And when I was looking to do the regression, when I was playing the recording back to me to myself after I recorded it, I was thinking, there's really nothing wrong with me. I mean, I'm only 13. I don't have phobias. I don't have illnesses. I don't have, emotional traumas. I'm just a regular kid. And then I saw the connection, after that experience of why such a feeling against all these images. But the impact it also continued to have throughout the rest of my life was in the lesson of that life. The lesson of that life had to do with being good, not hurting others, seeking resolution through love and unity, and really being good. So I have to tell you, in that moment when I felt what was the lesson of the lifetime, it was such an incredible realization for me, because from there on, every choice I made was impacted by, am I this person? Am I being of service? Am I being a being of light? Am I being a being of love? Am I good? And the interesting thing is, my full name is Mira. Mira is part of my the second part of my first name, and my name means Dobro means good, and Mira means world. So I was thinking, it's even incredible how my parents chose to name me, and from there on, I decided to be this person who brings good to the world.
So you went on, so after that, with the early experience, then you went on later to study. And did you have other past life experiences as you got older?
I did. I have had so many stories that I can share, and not only mine, so many incredible stories of my clients. And what happened with me afterwards is I just, continued on with life in a very normal fashion. Of course, on the back of my mind was always that experience and that question. And then I went to high school, I went to college, I went to law school, and then I was already working as a lawyer when I had this physical condition, when I had this physical thing that was brought about a dentist who was just doing some dental work in my mouth, and then from there on, his work brought about this full-blown TMJ condition. And anybody who has ever had any kind of pain in their body, or anybody who has ever had a TMJ knows how amazingly painful it could be, because it's, right on your face, and it impacts how you talk or how you sleep or how you feel. It's always right there. You cannot ignore it. And after a year of trying to heal it, going to physical therapy, going to the dentist, making adjustments, after having taken a million, pills to control the pain and so on, my dentist basically said to me that I have to either learn to live with it or have an operation, which entailed breaking my jaw and then reattaching it. And of course, that sounded horrible, right? Why would you want to break something that's not broken to begin with? Because TMJ is really an issue of the muscles of the jaw. And in the desperation of the moment, I was really desperate for something else, for something I haven't tried, even though I felt like I've tried everything. And that's when I remembered the book I read when I was little, and I remembered the regression I did. So I said, maybe that's the way I would heal. So I found a practitioner in New York City very quickly, and I had a session with her. And I experienced myself as a slave. I saw this very, very brief image of myself as a slave. And, as that slave, I had this big, heavy iron manacle right around my neck, this huge collar of iron, and 4 other manacles around my wrists and my calves. And around my legs, and I just saw myself as this heartbroken and completely powerless feeling person, and because of the inhumane treatment I have experienced, and I have to tell you, right where my pain was, right in my jaw, is exactly where the collar was always rubbing me, and because this metal collar that was placed on me as that slave is never to be taken away, the pain was always there. So, and that's all I saw, that's all that I experienced. So I went home and I pretty much spent the rest of the day crying because there was such tremendous emotion. It was such a cathartic experience. And I'm really honest when I say this. I'm not making, I'm not exaggerating this. I woke up the next morning and the pain was gone, and it was that quick. It was that easy. And of course, I went to my dentist, and he just couldn't believe this has happened to me. He just called my healing a miracle. He couldn't explain it any other way. And from there on, I just knew what is the right thing for me to share with the world and with people. And I sought to bring this to everybody, to every friend, to every family member.
So it's pretty effective past life regression therapy as you experience, and then also in your clients as you went on to conduct regressions on other people. So what are some of the other things that people have been able to heal from, physical as well as emotional?
Yeah, if I say anything, it's really anything. And the incredible thing about regression is that because it does not target one thing. It's an opportunity to heal everything. You see, when you go to the doctor, they only give you pills that are targeted towards something very specific. And usually what you do when you go to the doctor is you're healing something that is already a symptom, something that is already showing up. You're not really healing the root cause. And what I have discovered, and through my own regressions and through working with people, is that everything that shows up in our bodies as pain and aches, and everything that shows up, as physical conditions, is really based on emotions that we haven't resolved, issues we haven't healed, things that we haven't been able to address. And what our bodies are doing is that they're just simply telling us, pay attention, this is it. And sometimes it's so literal, sometimes the message of our bodies is so literal as to where the person is and what they're experiencing. And because of that, because past life regressions actually go towards the root cause, towards healing the emotional issues that the person is having, addressing the emotions. And because of that, it's really so effective towards healing anything, emotions, traumas, phobias, fears, eating disorders, really anything. People improving their eyesight, people having sexually transmitted diseases that are incurable. It's just really amazing. It's just amazing.
Well, I've got a ton of callers up here, and I know this topic really is fascinating and intriguing to a lot of people. I mean, I think it's pretty interesting as well. And I've talked to Dr. Brian Weiss about this too. Some of the patients that he's had, and he said a lot of people were able to heal instantaneously, just like you've described with a lot of the patients that you had. So I wanted to ask you, like, the difference, there's deja vu experiences, and how does that differ from a past life experience? How do you explain that?
Well, usually what happens with deja vu experiences, as I understand it and I've experienced it myself, is that you're just really walking about and then you just have this moment of, oh, wow, I've been here, I've done this before. And with regressions, the feeling is a bit different. The feeling is, oh, I am this person, I'm doing all these things, and this is what's going on. So it's really just the method of how we experience it. In other words, one is, with your eyes open, and you're just going about your day, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, I've done this before. And the other one is a little different in terms of you're just lying down, you have your eyes closed, and you're going through the experience, and everything feels very vivid and very personal. It's like it's you who's experiencing that. And but that's really what it comes down to.
So what would you say to someone who is an old soul or someone who's been back many times? Is that true in your experience? Is there such a thing as an old soul?
I would say we all are old souls. We're all eternal. So in a way, we are all old souls. I have met with people and had sessions with people who have been told by their higher self that this is their first time on Earth. And there are people who've been reincarnating over and over and over and over again. And it's just, every time it's just as incredible and just as fantastic, and there's just as incredible amount of learning and growth and opportunity to experience life. And it's really just amazing every time a person is able to see the bigger picture of who they are and receive guidance for where they are. Because you see, every time a person has a regression, what they experience is so appropriate for where they are in that moment. In other words, just because I have done all these sessions, it doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense for me to do any more regressions, me personally. Every time it's a new experience, and every time it's very appropriate for where I am and to give me the guidance that I'm looking for.
Oh, that's interesting. So each time you have a session, you could access a different life to give you the answer that you're looking for, or to help you with the issue that you're dealing with at that time.
absolutely. That's why it makes sense, for people to have the CD, because just because you listen to it once, it doesn't mean you're done. I actually listened to the CD 2 days ago. I had something that I was thinking that I wanted to get guidance on, so I played it myself and just did what everybody else would be doing when they listen to the regression, and I received images, and information that was tremendously helpful. So you see, it's just a way to get access and information and guidance and to really understand more of yourself.
Well, we're going to give away a couple of copies of the CD to callers. I have a full board here, so I'm going to grab a call right now before we go into a break and give you a chance to answer some questions.
Very
so
good.
Let's go to Suzanne. She's on line 3 calling from Connecticut. And Suzanne, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Diane. It's the first time I'm listening to your show. It's really fascinating.
Well, I'm glad you called in. So
Yeah.
What was your question about past lives? Were you interested in maybe investigating that for yourself?
I am. I haven't really thought a lot about it, but doing a lot of kind of personal growth stuff lately and thinking about periods of my life of illnesses that I've dealt with and a situation I'm dealing with now. And when I saw the topic, I'm kind of wondering, is there a way to tell whether things that you're going through now are related to past life issues? Are there signs that kind of speak to that? And how do you start investigating that?
That's a great question. Mira, what would you say to that? How do you know it's something from a past life?
Hi, Suzanne.
Hi.
Your question is really very interesting, and it makes me wonder how to approach and answer this. You see, what you're saying to me implies that an issue originated in a moment in time, and then time linearly continued, and you incarnated with these same souls, and now you're dealing with the same issue, right? The same situation and the same condition. What I have discovered in my work is that actually time is simultaneous. All these lives exist in the same one moment, To you and I, time is linear because that's how it serves for us to create physical reality in this world. But on the level of the soul, where lives are decided, how they're going to be experienced and created, they're all simultaneous. And what happens with people is we usually like to reincarnate with the same group of people just because, we create these relationships and we start these things. And what we do is we go through the different lifetimes. And so that could be, right there could be the answer to what you're looking for, the situation that I'm in. But also there's something else. What people do is they actually sometimes choose to work on the same issue from different points of view, because you see, a soul wouldn't have a complete learning or understanding of, let's say, the topic of love if you just experience lifetimes where you've been greatly loved and nurtured. You see, you learn about love just as well when you're in relationships where you're jealous, and you teach people about love through your negative actions and circumstances that you are creating. So this is really about a 360-degree type of learning, right, from every possible aspect. So what happens is when people reincarnate, they choose to usually look at the same issue from a different point of view. So the way past life regression helps people is by allowing them to connect with lifetimes where the same issues have been explored. And then you see how it was done in that lifetime, and you see how it relates to who you are in this lifetime. And then you realize, you know what, I'm a different person now. I choose to do things differently now. This information was incredibly valuable, and I feel ready to move on, and I feel ready to apply this lesson in a new way, in a new light. When I shared that story of when I was that slave who had that chain, around my neck, the emotional issues that the slave experienced was this feeling of powerlessness. This incredible feeling of not being able to do anything, even though I saw myself and experienced myself as this very big guy, very strong and powerful guy, and yet I felt smaller than an ant, and I felt that there was this authority figure above me, my owners, and I couldn't do anything to improve my life. And, there's nothing I could do. And the reason now that I look back why I experienced that is because at that time, as a lawyer, I was working in a law firm, and my bosses have created a very similar situation and experience. I was having the experience of feeling that there's this authority and there's nothing I can do about it. And through that experience, I actually came to the understanding of...
Here, hold on a second, Mira. We're going to jump to a break real quick, and there was something else I wanted to address from Suzanne's question, so we'll be right back.
This is the I Can Do It Hour with your host, Diane Ray.
We're back with my guest today, Mira Kelley, and we're talking about healing through past life regression. Is it possible to heal physical and emotional issues by accessing a past life memory where something may have triggered that issue? This is really fascinating. We're also going to be giving away some CDs of Mira's set here, Healing Through Past Life Regression and Beyond, which includes an exercise that you can do at home to access past lives, as well as a meditation. And I wanted to just bring back our previous caller, Suzanne, really quickly. She's on line 3, and she was asking about how to investigate if a past life is affecting your health and wellness. And Suzanne, I just was wondering if you had a certain issue, a health issue that was on your mind right now.
Well, two things I was relating to when Mira was talking about TMJ issues, which I've experienced for over 30 years, but also recently an issue with osteoporosis, kind of suddenly diagnosed, and it seemed to me out of the blue.
So, Mira, what do you think about those two things? I mean, could osteoporosis, something like that, actually be triggered by a past life?
I would suggest that that's exactly what you do. You begin to investigate through the guided regression that is part of the city set, because I wouldn't go as far as saying the osteoporosis, the condition was triggered by a past life regression, but I would say chances are there's an emotional situation that created the physical body to actually react in this way and say, this is what you need to focus on, this is what you need to pay attention. Does it make sense? I wouldn't say that it's directly the correlation with the physical. In other words, something happened, let's say, with your jaw or with your body in another lifetime, and you experience these conditions in this lifetime. I would say there is an emotional relationship, an emotional issue.
An emotional connection. Suzanne, hold on. We're going to get you a copy of Mira's CD so you could investigate this, and, you might be surprised what you come up with.
Thanks very much.
It's pretty interesting. Sure. Hold on. And let's go to Amy. We'll try to take as many calls as we can in the next segment. We've got so many great questions. Amy on line 4 from Wisconsin. And Amy, thanks for calling. You're on with Mira today.
Hi. Thank you guys for taking my call, Mira and Diane.
Hey, Amy.
Hi. So many times I feel like I'm going through some kind of transition, and so many times I feel like almost paralyzed or emotionally paralyzed, or, I isolate a lot, and I'm just wondering if that has something to do with a past life.
Do you feel that you isolate from people, from situations, and you're just holding back?
I don't. I like being with people, but I feel just paralyzed sometimes just to get going and do things, and I feel it on a cellular level.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It doesn't come naturally to me.
Yeah, I understand. I hear you. This is something that I would definitely suggest that you explore through the recording, and I'm very glad that you're calling, because you'll be, I'm guessing Diane will send your the CD set so that you explore it. And I have a feeling this will be very beneficial for you, that you will discover what it is that is creating this situation. And I have to tell you, when I work with clients, I could never, ever, ever guess what the answer answer would be. And then they have this experience, this lifetime, and then the person comes out of the trance, and we look at each other and we're like, this is incredible. We could not have seen it come this way, and yet the person feels transformed. The person feels really born anew, and they're ready to go and do life differently.
So, Amy, hang on. We're going to get you a copy of the CD as well. It's on back order, but you will get it.
Okay.
Okay, hold on.
Thank you all very much.
And thank you for sharing, Amy.
So, Mira, you're saying, like in Amy's case, maybe it would have been a fear or something that she might have addressed in a past life that's keeping her paralyzed from moving forward. And you've seen that a lot in other people?
Yes, and that's why that's really why the work is so powerful for every person. Even though the approach is the same, right? What comes as a story for the person, what they experience in another lifetime, is always so incredibly appropriate for their own situations and for their own challenges and what the issues they're facing every day.
Let's take this one call on line 8, Mary in Utah, because this is interesting. She's had recurring dreams of a situation. And I know sometimes dreams you can access a past life in the dream state. So, Mary, thanks for calling in.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying to compose myself after listening. I've had a recurring dream since I was a child. Of having a board placed on top of my chest and then rocks piled on. And I've had what they called secondhand smoke or asthma, bronchial. I've had a continual cough most of my life. But I've also had structural. I had 3 hip replacements. So the osteo, I understood when she was talking about that, the not moving forward. I've taught school for 23 years and just recently was unable to be able to do my job anymore. And so the moving forward, I got that when you said that with her. I'm starting up a new business called Heartlight Healing, trying to heal these things that I know in my soul are what you said today from past lives that I've never understood until today.
Mary, what you're sharing really sounds incredible, because I am almost sure that what you're experiencing is another lifetime, and in your dreams, and why the asthma, right? The breathing issue. I had a session with a client who came to me, and she had insomnia, and her insomnia was caused by the fact that she would wake up in the middle of the night, and she would be having this feeling of being strangled. I mean, somebody suffocating her. So she wouldn't actually be able to sleep much through the night because she would always just wake up from this dream of being strangled. And of course, she would be afraid to sleep alone. And really, sleeping was a huge, huge issue for her. Yes. So she experienced a lifetime where she actually was working in a temple, being a worker, of light and healing. And her brother was not happy with her doing this kind of work at all. So what he did is one night he came and he strangled her in her sleep. And this woman, before she came and saw me, she had this insanely paralyzing fear of dying. I mean, it was just beyond you and I sharing, to each other, oh, we're afraid of dying. It was just really hugely impactful on her. And after this experience, she shared with me that she's now able to sleep and she's just fine. The dream is not there anymore. And better yet, actually, she told me how at work a coworker of her had passed away. And she said, in the past, this kind of a situation would have brought me into a real depression, into a real state of, really, really emotionally traumatizing for me. Exactly. And instead she said to me, instead what I did this time around is I started talking to all my coworkers, started telling them about the afterlife and that, it's really okay. We're eternal. We continue on. So this kind of experience is just really something that I see possible for you, this ability to heal your asthma and breathing and have those nightmares stop and really find your balance, and find the feeling within you of moving forward. And I see that that's really the path that you're on. You're looking to resolve these things because that's what we as healers do, right? We heal others and we heal ourselves.
Now, Mira, we're going to get Mary a CD, but if she wanted to pursue this further in Utah, is there a website you can recommend, or could she contact you to find a regressionist in her area? Because it seems like she might want to actually have a full regression with a trained therapist to really investigate.
Well, that's what I was
this
thinking,
whole thing.
because with that dream, that's what they used to do, and this just came through now with witchcraft, with witches. And now I'm trying to do this healing, and obviously being in Utah, that's, the dominant religion here is men that hold that healing power. And I think that's where I haven't had those dreams until now again. And that's where that just came through too now.
Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Because people are unable to come and meet me in person, and there's just me, I don't have, there's only so many days in the year that I have to meet with people. That's why I have created the CD, and the CD really, this recording that we're talking about, and it really follows the process that I use with my clients in my office. So that's, I think that will be just as good for you as working with a person. But for those of you who want to work with me and see me in person, my website is mirakelley.com, and you can just contact me through my website.
And I thought about my name too, Mary Carmen. My dad's name was Karmanowski, and he dropped that when he moved here.
Yeah.
And it was Carmen. Everything you said today is just so...
It rings true.
Oh.
I'm very excited for you, Mary. I have to tell you, please do the regression and on the recording after you receive it from Diane, and please do stay in touch with me. Reach out to me and tell me about what you experience. Yes, and that goes really for anybody who does their regression. I'm excited to hear about your stories.
Oh,
well, let's get you that disc. So hold on, Mary.
Okay, thank you so much.
And the website, sure, thanks for calling. I think it's so fascinating when people share these stories. And it's Mira, MiraKelley.com, MiraKelley.com. And it makes me think, Mira, of this recurring dream that I've had of a house. And the house is a wooden house with a porch. And in a lot of dreams, it looks different, but it's the same, if that makes sense. It's like this same house keeps coming up, and I've had people say that I should investigate that and do a regression. And I'm going to do that because I wonder, where is this? Why does this house keep coming up? Let's grab another call from Jennifer in Columbus. And this is interesting because she says she knows 3 of her past lives already. So I'd like to hear her story. And Jennifer, thanks for calling in.
Hi, thank you. Actually, in listening to what everyone else was saying, it brought up another question I had. I'll just tell you briefly, I was a super active, outgoing person, running all over everywhere, could accomplish tons of things, and then I started feeling weak, and I started feeling tired, and I started choking on my food, and then I just lost all my energy. I could barely walk. People couldn't understand me when I was talking. And nobody could quite figure it out. They knew I had something neuromuscular going on, but they couldn't quite put their finger on it. So I went to Cindy Riggs here in Columbus, Ohio, and did a session with her. We did the energy body work, and she taught me about the law of attraction and all these things. And then we also did, she went into a past life, and it was so interesting because I didn't realize, I had dreams that my daughter was drowning. And I would jump in and I would try to get her, but I couldn't get her. And then I would see her dad on the side with, this big lifeboat. Well, as it turned out, one of my past lives was I was a man, and I went out on a boat, and my daughter had fallen off and drowned, and I tried to save her, but I couldn't. So we have figured that kept my past life from moving on. And she did this soul retrieval thing with me, where once we got the soul moved on, I felt this huge emotion. It was like nothing I had ever felt in my entire life. But my question is, you have the CDs that take you into them, but will the CD help you get your life, if you have a soul that didn't move on and that's why you're having this past life regression, how do you do it yourself to get your soul to move on? Because I had an awesome person help me. I just didn't know if I could do it myself through your CD. Does that make sense?
It really does. I have to tell you, you just really have to trust the wisdom of your soul, because your soul is looking to move on. Your soul is looking to grow and expand. That's the purpose of it, right? That's the purpose of every existence anyway. So it's really a very natural thing that happens, that you once an issue is resolved, once a cycle is complete, then you're like, okay, now I'm moving on. That's why when I was telling you, about the story of me seeing that life as a slave, I did not make any connections. No one did any soul retrieval with me. None. I just spent the day basically crying, and yet the next morning somehow everything has put itself into place in the back of my mind, and I was done. I was done with that lesson. I was done with that learning. So the CD is really geared towards that, and there's something really incredible that is a part of the regression. It leads people through experience another lifetime, and then it allows the person to connect to the energy of their higher self, and that's something very important that I do with all my clients. It's a very large portion of the work that I do with my clients in my office. So I guide people to, you will hear it on the recording, to connect with the energy of your higher self and ask questions and receive guidance for the issues that you're looking guidance on. So that's really a very valuable part of the recording. So that's something that is really valuable in terms of allowing you to see the path forward, and how that relates to who you are today, the experience that you just had in the regression.
So hold on, Jennifer. We're going to get you that CD, okay?
Okay,
You'll get a copy. And thanks for calling. And Mira, this just brings me to a question, kind of what Jennifer was talking about. So if it was a soul that hadn't moved on, if Jennifer went back in her regression and experienced the actual moment of the death of that particular life, would that essentially help that process along? Help that soul to move forward? Like if for some reason there was something that was stuck, is that possible? Or
I would imagine, absolutely. Here's the incredible thing. When every time a person does a regression and they come see me, in my office, the experience has already been divinely orchestrated. The person is already supported by the highest levels of by the highest levels of love, light, and healing. So everything is already to support the process and the growth and the healing and the returning to oneness.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can get a few more calls. This is really great. Let me go to Joe on line 3. He's calling from New York. And I think this is interesting because he's talking about past life connections with other people. And I think that relationships are really amazing. And sometimes I've heard Dr. Brian Weiss say that souls do tend to reincarnate together, soul families. So maybe this might be something along those lines. So Joe, thanks for calling in with your question.
Thank you. I'm actually quite interested in this. I mean, I've actually tried some past life regression myself, and the one thing that I haven't been too successful with it for myself, but I have really wondered about, because I feel like I'm dealing with some particularly challenging relationships in my life, what the correlation might be. When doing a past life regression, have you had experiences where people actually then recognize people in their present life coming up in their past lives?
Oh gosh, all the time. All the time, absolutely, because we really, like what you were just saying right now, Diane, we really travel together through lifetimes. We enjoy it. We like it. And let me just share a brief story with you. I did a session with two brothers, and one day after another with the two of them, and they didn't talk between each other. So there's no way for them to have influenced each other. So one brother experienced actually being a warrior who was going and, killing people around for the sake of, whatever the government people were deciding. And the other brother the next day experienced being killed by his brother in a battle. So it was just incredible just to see that moment of recognition of the two of them. And it happens so very often. People constantly see each other, see their relatives, see their loved ones, and that's really a tremendous value of this experience, because you see the bigger picture of the relationships that people share. And then with this bigger understanding, the extending of compassion and love is so much easier, because now you know. So you're really ready to forgive. It's so easy to forgive, and it's so easy to approach things differently. And because you are in New York, maybe you can come and we can work together.
That's a good possibility. I really need to work this out.
Very good.
Well, try the CD too, Joe.
I definitely will.
Absolutely.
This is very important to me.
And the CD has also a guided meditation, and I have to tell you, I love this guided meditation. It's incredibly wonderful. It's geared towards bringing everything that the person has learned through their regressions into who they are, and integrating it and allowing them to take that information, that experience, and create a fabulous, incredible life for themselves.
That sounds terrific.
It's really a wonderful, wonderful meditation. I have played it for Dr. Wayne Dyer, and he really loves it. He has given me incredible feedback on it. So I know that, and of course, everybody else I have shared it with. So I know that people are going to love it.
Well, we're going to give you a copy so you can try that out, Joe.
That's terrific. Thank you so much.
Sure, and thanks for calling. And I want to give Mira's website again. It's MiraKelley, MiraKelley.com. So Joe in New York, if you wanted to get in touch with Mira or anybody else out there, give her some feedback on the disc, any of the callers that called in, and, let her know. So, Mira, we have just a couple of minutes left. It's just flown by. But I think Joe's question was so interesting about souls reincarnating together and then dealing with relationships. If there's a difficult relationship in your life, it could have been an issue in a past life with this same person. Maybe they were your son or daughter in another life. You were their mother or father, because the gender can change.
Yes, exactly. And our genders change, our roles, family roles change, but the recognition is there. When a person is in a trance, when they experience this other lifetime, the recognition is instant. They are immediately able to say, "Oh, I know who this is," and it's just really wonderful and beautiful for people to bring that learning back into their relationships. And I have to tell you, you don't even need to have a challenging relationship with a person for you to reincarnate with them. Sometimes people just love each other and they want to be together.
Right. So it doesn't have to be a challenge. That's a good point. So I wanted you to describe, we have about 2 minutes left here of the show, because you did do this really fascinating regression with Dr. Wayne Dyer. And what was that like?
It was really an incredible experience. He had an experience which very well he shared the transcript of our story in his book Wishes Fulfilled, and I'm really very grateful that he did, because it has allowed for so many people to be introduced to the idea of regressions and how that assists and heals people. And it was a really very emotional and very powerful experience. I remember how when he was going through the emotions and when he was going through the experience, and especially at the end where he was this old man, wise man who had gone through life and had learned that it's about sharing and it's about love and it's about being kind to each other, and where he was looking to bring his own son into the light. He was looking to bring his own son into that kind of understanding rather than the attitude of revenge and eye for an eye. And I remember how tears were streaming down his face, and it was such an emotional moment that actually I was crying too. And it was just a very moving and very beautiful and very impactful experience for him and of course for me.
And if people do this CD, they could have a similar experience. They could feel those same kind of emotions. It's possible.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So I had another question since you've done so many regressions. I had to ask this because I thought it was, in Dr. Dyers' regression, I mean, he didn't come back as anybody really famous or anything like that. And probably the average person isn't going to come back as like a king or something like that. I mean, most people that you regress, you don't have, Napoleon Bonaparte or George Washington or somebody, someone say that they were that person in another life. Has that ever happened, or is it usual? It's usually a regular person experiencing life in that time.
When you think about it, it's mostly regular people who inhabit the earth and who've been inhabiting the earth.
Right.
I have had, through all these regressions I've done, I have met with only one person of power, and the woman experienced herself as a pharaoh. And yet the life was not, the focus of the life was not about the power and the greatness. The focus of her experience was how this relates to who I am today.
That's so amazing. Check out Mira online, mirakelley.com, and pick up the CD.